Swedenfreak976 here with the truth. This may be the most important video I've done because it's debunking the lie about socialism. Lies, whatever. I changed from a Democrat to a Democratic Socialist back a couple months ago, and my good friend Franks told me it wasn't going to be easy. Boy, was he right. But hey, I stand my ground, and I stand by my convictions. I don't let people, push me around, but he's right. It is hard because you're called things like a fascist, a Nazi and stuff, when a lot of people out there really don't know what socialism is. In Secular Nemesis' video about me, I was like, oh, you don't know socialism. Boy, did he prove me wrong. Well, you know what? From now on, I'm going to take that approach. When people say, you don't know the truth about socialism, or you don't know socialism, I'm going to put this video, and a lot of other knowledge that I have now, I'm going to see how much you people actually know who actually really criticize it. It's one thing if you're just like, oh, socialism's not for me. Okay, that's fine. But it's another thing when you come on and you go, you're a Nazi, you're a fascist, you're this or that. You don't even know what socialism is. I bet a lot of you don't, because you've been spoon-fed lies and everything. So, I got this from Britannica about socialism. This is the definition. I'm going to read you the definition. System of social organization in which private property and the distribution of income are subject to social control. Also, the political movements aimed at putting that system into practice. Because social control may be interpreted in widely diverging ways, socialism ranges from statist to libertarian, from Marxist to liberal. The term was first used to describe the doctrines of Charles Fourier and Henry de Saint-Simon and Robert Owen, who emphasized non-coercive communities of people working non-competitively for the spiritual and physical well-being of all. See utopian socialism. And that means basically that you work together, that the common people worked together for the greater good of a community. Fascism, again from Britannica. A political philosophy, movement, or regime that exalts nation and often race above the individual, and that stands for a centralized, autocratic government headed by a dictatorial leader, severe economic and social regimentation, and forcible suppression of opposition. That basically means you have no freedoms. Now, which sounds more like fascism to you, ladies and gentlemen? A philosophy based on people living together, working together, and helping each other out, or a philosophy that is basically dictatorship, basically. It's a dictatorship, fascism is. Basically, when you take away rights from people and stuff. You use minorities and foreigners as enemies. A man wrote a book on that, about fascism. He did. I'll get to that here in a few seconds, because he was talking about, again, the lies of socialism and how it's connected to fascism, all because of the German Nazis calling themselves the National Socialists, and I'll get to that here in a minute. That's a bunch of crap. Okay. Does the United States have a democracy? Ask yourself that. No. If you look up the actual word democracy, again, Britannica, but I also have gotten this from some videos and stuff. Now listen. Aristotle wrote, "A democracy exists whenever those who are free and poor are in sovereign control of the government. What we live in is in an oligarchy." What's an oligarchy? When control lies in the hands of the rich and better born. Now ask yourself, how many common people, and just people who can just wanted to run, could run? I've had big arguments with DK Shadow, but one of the things I actually agreed with him on It's when me and him were arguing, he said, man, I'm tired of just seeing a D and an R on a ballot. Knowing that the Libertarian or the Socialist or the Green Party candidate don't have a chance in hell of winning. And a lot of them, you don't even get to vote for them. So that's not a democracy. I hate to say this about my country. I love my country, but we don't live in a real democracy. That's sad. Real sad. Okay, now what is capitalism? To me, capitalism is more like fascism than what socialism. Okay? Capitalism are encouraged to turn a profit by cutting costs and paying as little as possible. Capitalism is basically when you make money and it goes back into an economy and you keep making a profit, but instead of giving back, you get to keep the money. Now this may be good for the rich, not so good for the poor. Now, a man named Dr. Lawrence Brett wrote The 14 Signs of Fascism, which I want to get to right now. Powerful and continuing nationalism. In other words, lots of, like if you're back in the Nazi era, Germany, you saw the swastikas and everything. You see lots of flags of a state or a country. I'm not going to read all of these, but disdain for the recognition of human rights. In other words, so what if enemies of the state get killed or tortured or whatever? To hell with that. Identifying enemies or scapegoats as a unifying cause. Illegal immigrants, minorities, gays, stuff like that. Supremacy of the military. In other words, like when an attack happens, we pretty much put the military spend more on it than we would on helping other people. Okay, obsession with national security. Now, this was written a while back, folks. This book was. Look it up. Corporate power is protected. Even today. You're not seeing a lot of corporations lose their power. A lot of them didn't even, there were, especially oil companies, a lot of companies didn't even pay taxes last year. Loopholes and stuff. So, just listen to this. Labor power is suppressed. Like in Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, Florida. So then you start to listen to this. And then come back and tell me that socialism is fascism. Disdain for intellectuals and the arts. Like when Mitch Daniels here in Indiana, our governor, wanted to cut $300 million out of schools, education, and the art programs. Obsession with crime and punishment. And fraudulent elections, like a state giving someone an election or something like that. That is fascism. Now, when I talk about fascism, you can't help but talk about Adolf Hitler. Okay. One of Adolf Hitler's famous sayings was, because we say not to the rich, give to the poor persons, but we say, German people, help yourselves. Everybody shall help, whether poor or rich. Listen to this quote from Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler said this. It wasn't intellectuals who gave me the courage to undertake this task, but I can reveal this. I found the courage because I encountered two classes, country people and German workers. And again, what about those elections? I'm not just hinting at George Bush people. You know what I'm hinting at? Adolf Hitler back in 1932. He lost his election. Hindenburg got 48% of the vote, 0.6. Hitler got 30.1. They had a runoff election, a second one, because he didn't get enough Hindenburg got 53%, Hitler got 36%. So, again, Hitler got power by taking it, not by being elected. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is not socialism. That's fascism. No way is that socialism. No. And anybody who says so is lying. They don't know what they're talking about, and they're a deliberate liar. I'm going to take you some quotes. Here. I got so much stuff here. It's from History and Politics 77, or as his YouTube name is known, Young Historian 77. Brilliant video. I'm going to put the link up. Great young man. I'm going to read a couple of quick quotes to let you know that the Nazis were originally called the Germans' Worker Party. The reason they were called that is because, according to some websites and stuff, and him and some resources and books that I will get to, they wanted to take Germany back from the invaders, if you will, the Jews. Okay, here we go. The Germans' Worker Party was the original title of Drexler's party, who had a fear of Eastern Europeans, in particular the Czechs, i.e. foreigners coming in and taking the German jobs. He wanted German workers over foreign workers. Okay, now this is from a book. In March 1918, he set up a community of independent workmen with an anti-Semitic and anti-foreigner emphasis. This was formalized in January 1919 as the German Workers' Party. James Taylor and Warren Shaw, Penguin Dictionary of the Third Reich, page 79. Okay, now this one's real short. All they really wanted, said Drexler, was to be ruled by Germans. John Toland, Adolf Hitler, page 86. Very simple, said the young man. So this part of the name comes from the plain right-wing xenophobia Drexler had. Right-wing. Socialism is left-wing, okay? Real socialism. And this one I'm just going to read real quick. It's a big quote, but I'm going to tell you where it's come from, but I'm going to read a little bit of the quote. In particular, they identified the Jewish influence as the source of Germany's economic woes, political unrest, and moral decline. The remedies they proposed, including the exclusion of Jews from position of public authority, such as teaching and judicial posts, within what they defined as the Christian state, strict laws against usury, as that was a traditional Christian value protected of classes allegedly oppressed by Jewish middlemen. That came from the German Studies Review, Volume 11, Number 3, October 1998, pages 377 to 403. Now, ladies and gentlemen, does that sound like socialism? After all I've read to you earlier. No, it does not. And who wrote this stuff, folks? First, landlords, like all other men, love to reap where they have never sown. Social progress can be measured by the social position of the female sex. Democracy is the road to socialism. Those three quotes were from Karl Marx. Karl Marx. And who had this quote? An interviewer. So if someone is sick and not in full health, they do not deserve love. No, they do not have the right to be loved. Ayn Rand. Yeah, there's your fascist right there. And I wish somebody would, I hope somebody can clarify this for me, because I really get sick of people talking about Hitler and guns. Can I tell you something right now, ladies and gentlemen? There was a ban on guns for the Jews and the working poor, the left-wing socialists, democratic socialists, who were the majority, but when Hitler took his position, they became the minority. There was a ban on 2 years, but every website I go to gives me a different year. If somebody really knows what year it happened, please, I usually don't say leave a comment. I really, if people want to comment, they can. If they don't, no sweat off my back. But please, if somebody could tell me, please tell me. But there was a 2-year ban, so right now I'm just going to go with the majority of articles and say 1938. But somebody said that was not entirely accurate either. Somebody said 1936, so I don't know. Really, I don't know on this one. So please, somebody, if you could tell me, please. Well, I hope you learned something. I hope it opened your eyes, opened your heart. Please, ladies and gentlemen, don't believe lies. Thank you. And